Hi everyone, Jess here, and today I'm joined with Lisa Eyamie, Director of Digital Roadmap and Innovation at WestJet. Thank you for joining me, Lisa.
Thanks for having me, Jess.
So, just going straight into it then, what do you think is holding back innovation in the industry?
I was thinking about this question around holding back innovation in our great industry, and I actually don't think we're holding back. I actually think as an industry, we're leaning in. We've got a lot of investment. There are a lot of people are invested as well. I think even at WestJet, you can see from the creation of my team earlier this year, there's an interest and an awareness that this has to happen. And so I don't think we're holding back, or at least not on purpose. I think there's a lot of associations, a lot of partners. There's a huge community around digital transformation, specifically for the airline, for the transportation industry. I think we have a lot of willing participants. I think it takes time. And so, Rome wasn't built in a day. I think we're catching up to decades of underinvestment. And I think many or most of us are actually trying to do the right things. So I think it's about how do we set up the teams? How do we set up the infrastructure? And I don't mean physical infrastructure or IT infrastructure, but the teams and the people and the resources and the skill sets to actually create this digital movement and this digital change as part of the digital journey. And from a few different conversations I've had with some of my peers at other airlines, as well as other partnerships and partners that are doing this in the industry, there's a lot of great technology out there. It's about which one do we want to choose and where do we want to start? And I think the key is really just around starting.
Fantastic. That's really, really useful perspective on it, that it's not actually being held back. So perhaps let me rephrase that. Can you think of anything that would catalyze innovation within the industry?
I think there's so many opportunities and options and things to choose from. As I said, I think there's a lot of innovation. There's a lot of things happening. There's a lot of new technology. There's a lot of forums and associations that are really coming together. I think some of the key that come to mind for me is really around baggage. We had this amazing session with the Future Travel Experience team and the Baggage Innovation Working Group that we've just joined recently. And there's so many things going on in that baggage portfolio and the use cases around baggage tracking, baggage automation. And of course, there was a need from it from last summer. And so where there's a need, there becomes more investment and more focus and more interest. I think another area is really around data democracy and how do we ensure that our data is being presented in a fashion, not only for us internally as a WestJet group and the data to our business units, but how are we using that data across the country to actually enable some of the flow of our passengers and our guests and making sure that we've got the democratization of data out there, in, of course, a very secure way, with our guests always in mind, and not, sharing information that would not be relevant to a situation, but really democratizing data so that we can enable that flow of our guests from one point to another. I think a lot of innovations and changes and improvements in self-service, and that's not only for the guests, but it's also from a self-serve perspective. I think of our contact center agents, how can we help them do their roles faster and better and for them to feel more productive in their days? I think there's a lot of great innovations around ancillaries, around advanced analytics and, AI and machine learning. I think there's a lot of great things in the market right now coming out within that space, predictive models and really helping both from a commercial and revenue generating perspective, but also from a passenger and operational perspective. And that's where we're really honing in is on our operations side. What can we do to really impact the actual operation to make sure that we've got seamless decisions and we've got great data and great insights to help us make better operational decisions day of travel.
Fantastic, thank you. And we've spoken understandably quite a lot about innovation. So could I ask you to explain the distinction or perhaps the relationship between innovation and improving what's already there? Is it all about something new, or can you be innovative with existing infrastructure, for example?
I think it's a little of both. I think when I think of innovation, so I think of small I, big I is often an analogy I use with my team and with our organization. And small I is really about improvements, incremental change, incremental growth. And my belief system is a small change leads to large scale change over time. And so it's really about a little bit more of, it's less about a sprint, it's more about the march and the marathon. And so small I for improvements and big I innovation. And of course, big I innovation, it's big, it's exciting, it can be really transformative, but in and of itself, it's not necessarily what needs to be done all the time. And I think the key again is really just start. Pick an item. It doesn't have to be, analysis over 6 months to figure out which one could be our biggest bang for our buck. Don't get stuck in analysis paralysis. Sometimes we've got technology that, if we just rip off the Band-Aid and acknowledge that it's a sunk cost, we maybe need to make a jump to a new or modern technology if it fits the purpose. But innovation for the sake of innovation is really not somewhere that we should be going down the path. I think transition of small incremental change is a little bit easier, it's a little bit faster, it's a little more palatable sometimes for our employees to undertake and to come along in that process, which I think is super important. We can go and change technology and implement technology, and not to belabor what is needed in change of technology, but generally speaking, the technology part is the easy part. It's actually the people change and the making sure that they've got the right training and the right mindset and the right learning and development opportunities to understand how that technology could help them do their job better, help them be more productive, help them feel more satisfied in the things that they get to do every day. So I think small I improvements, big I innovation. I think, the conversation around, do you buy, do you build, do you build upon what you already have? I think there's opportunities in every situation. I think everyone is unique. Every airline, every company is unique. And I think it really is about what suits your purpose, what is fit for purpose for your organization. Does it make sense to continue to build upon what you already have, or does it make sense to go and buy something new?
Fantastic, thank you. And that small I, big I is a really helpful rule of thumb to to sort of differentiate when we speak about it. So we've touched on it a little bit, but which key areas are we starting to see innovation really thrive in the industry?
I think over and above some of the things I said around baggage and fuel and data democracy, I think that there's a lot of startups out there. We have this great partnership with an organization called Plug and Play, and they bring forward hundreds, if not thousands, of opportunities of different startups that are really in the industry, specifically in the transportation and hospitality industry, but helping us to understand some of the things that they're bringing forward. So I think the startup community is really exciting. I think generative AI, I think every conversation will probably have at World Aviation Festival will probably have that phrase in it at some point. And I also think accessibility is a really big item as well. So at least in Canada, there's a lot of conversation and a lot of things happening around accessibility and making sure that we're building our tools, our systems, not only for our employees, but also for our guests to ensure that we've got accessibility front of mind.
Fantastic, thank you for that. And finally, now, what are you most looking forward to at World Aviation Festival? I know you just mentioned generative AI is probably going to be a big part of it.
For me, in my role, honestly, it's about connecting with all the other airlines, the airport partners, the ecosystem of all the opportunities that are out there and the possible solutions that others have either implemented, they've learned from, and they've got advice. I think there's, of course, a lot of great booths and a lot of the partners will be there. But really, it's about, how do I learn something new? How do I, recognize and become more aware that we're not on this journey alone. There's many people that are on this journey, either have started it, are near the end of their journey, and they've got many lessons to share. So I really think it's this, at WestJet, we keep talking about this hashtag better together. I think it really is the ecosystem and the conversations that you could have at World Aviation Festival, where WAF brings everybody together in the industry, so that you're really in one spot to harness all these conversations.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I really look forward to seeing you at Lisbon and hearing from you.
Thanks so much. It was my pleasure.